As you can guess from the fact there is no intro in this video, the thumbnail and the title, this is not an usual video that I do on the channel. And that's the fact that unlike my usual videos where I want to convey some information to you guys, in this particular video I want to mainly send out a message that hopefully gets to Bushiroad, and maybe they might act upon it, because I think this is a very important stance that need to be said more clearly. And I think by having this platform, I'm one of the people that should at least voice this thought. Now, if you're not aware, this Tuesday, Konami did their Nintendo Direct and they showcased their digital projects that are in the running right now. And one of those projects were Master Duel. This is their official simulator. This is something that the Yu-Gi-Oh player base has been asking about for countless of years. And the fact that Konami now decided that they are willing to take this step is such an instrumental decision in the card game community as a whole, that I think we're getting at a cross point where Bushiroad cannot afford to do nothing at this point. Because right now, with how things are panning out, I believe they don't have any valid argument or reasoning to say we're not gonna make an online simulator, or there is no good reason to make an online simulator. I don't think that's valid anymore at this particular point. And it all has to do because Konami is making this online simulator. And now with Konami making this online simulator, we now see that the big three all have an official simulator running online. We have Magic the Gathering, Magic Arena, we got the Pokemon simulator for Pokemon, and of course now Master Duel for Yu-Gi-Oh! And you might think to yourself, why is it right now so important that Bushiroad should make an online simulator and that they have no excuses? As seen as Magic the Gathering is already a couple of years old, and I don't know how long Pokemon's online simulator is already running. It has to do with the fact that specifically Konami now decides it's the right time and they're willing to take this step into basically into the next millennium or into the next century. Because there are actually a lot of similarities between how Konami is running Yu-Gi-Oh! And how Bushiroad is running Vanguard. Now, of course, there are going to be the same amount of arguments against why you shouldn't make an online simulator if you already have a physical card game. One of the main arguments that are being thrown around years and years for every other card game is the fact that it will take away from your physical card sales. It's already been proven that this not really is the case. Yes, sure, there might be some dips, but in the overall sales in total, you'll profit from this. You will always have your core audience that will still prefer play with physical cards. They will play your digital just to practice more, is because it's more accessible, but they will still play with your physical card themselves, myself included, because one, playing with physical cards itself is a much funner experience, or it feels much smoother than actual digital. And on top of that, you don't have that social interaction with the digital version of a card game that you do have with physical card games. Going to an actual events, to regionals, and feeling the atmosphere is something you will never get from sitting behind your PC screen. So you will always have that incentive to play the actual card game on top of having a digital one. But then we get to the second argument that people can say, and this is, in my opinion, the reason why Bushiroad cannot afford to sit still at this point anymore. That is that people could say, well, if they make an official online simulator, it will take away from their already existing mobile game. In our case, Vanguard Zero. Well, the thing is, Konami had this exact same thing that's called Duel Links. Duel Links is basically our Vanguard Zero, but then for Yu-Gi-Oh! It's somewhat Yu-Gi-Oh! But also not really. And yet, Konami decided they're willing to take this step. They see profit in actually making an official online simulator. The fact that they decide to do that means there is an actual valid reason to go for an online simulator, and that's the reason why I feel very strongly about the fact that Bushiroad should look into this, as there is so much potential of having an actual online simulator. Probably you can see countless of videos from other card game communities that when they were asking this before they had their official simulator. Like, there are so many videos by Yu-Gi tubers that were talking about this concept, and now they're gonna get their official simulators. I think Different Fight has talked about this in the past. Maybe I did a video maybe 2 years ago, but this is now my video talking about this. And yes, you might think to yourself, okay, it doesn't really take away from your physical card game, and Yes, it might take away from Vanguard Zero, but then again, the same rules apply to Vanguard Zero as to the physical card games. Vanguard Zero isn't Vanguard. It's a different card game. How much you want to disagree with this, it's not the same. And there will be a core audience that will prefer Vanguard Zero over the physical card game or over your online simulator, and they will still play it. Maybe they play multiple versions, but they will probably still stick with Zero. Probably there will also be people that spent a little bit too money in Vanguard Zero and they don't want to lose that investment, so they say, I'm gonna stick with Vanguard Zero because I want to make my money that I put into it still worth something. And that's completely valid. But that's all just saying that it's not gonna take away from already existing things. The thing is with Vanguard, with an online simulator, it allows Bushiroad to tap in the entire world's market. Something that Bushiroad isn't doing right now. Now, a lot of people think or assume that Vanguard is a worldwide card game. This is not the reality. I have so many personal messages, comments on my videos, requests by people that are telling me they are from X country or X region and Bushiroad doesn't supply the card game to their country, but they want to play the game. Or they have no local game store or a player's base in their area and they cannot play the game, but they want to play the game, or they want to experience what we all in the West, in North America, and Western Europe and Oceania can experience. And the problem that I personally have with this, when people ask me this, is that I cannot give them an answer that they're seeking for. They want to know how they can play the game, but the cold hard truth is that there is no answer for those people. There is no solution, because if Bushiroad doesn't provide the cards to their country or to their region and there is no store that supports it, that's it. You cannot play the game, even though you might love the game, you might love the franchise, maybe you are a fan from a certain creator and you want to experience what they're talking about, but that's sadly not the case. There are some really awkward solutions, but it isn't a perfect fit for everybody. An online simulator allows those players, if they have at least a decent computer that can run that simulator and a decent internet connection, and for a lot of people that want to go into a card game, they probably can, they have that or can afford it to some degree, they then can actually play the game they want to play. And by getting those players in the game, you're not taking away from your existing player base, you're actually adding on top of it. And the great thing about this is that because Bushiroad can track all the statistics and they might suddenly see, wait, we got a gigantic player base in X country that we don't supply cards to, maybe we should make something happen there, because apparently we have a lot of fans that actually play our online simulator. Maybe they're also interested in the actual physical card game. Maybe we should also host a regional there. There are so many things that can come from such a device as an online simulator, because an online simulator is more than just a generic simulator. It's also a great tool for not only to learn about your player base, see where all your customers are, or where maybe certain regions you're not supplying enough that you might think there are not a lot of players there, and then with such a simulator you can see the data. But on top of that, an online simulator is also great for balancing patches. You can use that online simulator to gather data about what the current meta is, what cards might be problematic, what type of interactions weren't really what they thought. And they can use those online simulators also, but this is next level thinking, as beta test device for future sets. You can maybe use certain accounts that get access to new cards. They can use them online to practice those cards, giving you actually much faster and more detailed data than just playing on physical cards, because then you need to write every single thing down. With an online simulator, you have all the data directly at your disposal, and you can automatically put certain data points or equations on those tables, on those data sheets, to get better results, or at least make better knowledge or understanding from those data itself. An online simulator, to me as a programmer and as a fan and as an enthusiast of Card of Vanguard for the past 5-6 years, I can only see upsides to it. And the fact that Konami now also has decided that this is also the right direction to go forward in the 21st century leads me to believe that this should be the natural step for card games in general. The big three has it. Why shouldn't the number 4 in the card game realm also do this? Now, to really send home the message that I'm trying to convey here, I want to end it off on a personal story from my previous experience with Vanguard and what I realized when I saw the announcement of Master Duel for Yu-Gi-Oh! When I started playing this game at the end of 2015, early 2016, I had no locals, I had no local group that played the game, at least not that I'm aware of, and the only person I had to play was a good friend of mine because I managed to grab him into the game. We went to a regional because we wanted to experience this game. We drove 300 kilometers to a different country to at least play against other players, to feel the experience. And then, when that moment happened, I learned about that Cardfight Online was something in the works. Now, me not being able to play against other players on a regular basis because there was nothing close by and there weren't other local players except for my friend, and the problem is with only playing with one friend, the moment that one of us two is not really into the game, both players will fall off. So the fact that we learned about Cardfight Online was a very exciting prospect, because that allows us to just play the game against each other, play the game online, to learn new strategies, to learn new decks, and to be experienced the entire game for what it is, and then practice for regionals and just drive to 2, 3, 4, 500 kilometers to different parts of the continent to at least get some experience in. Then we got to know information that it was cancelled. Luckily, in between going to the first regional and learning about Cardfight Online and the news that it was cancelled, a local game shop opened up its door close by, and we got a community going, and there was a buzz happening around me, and I could actually experience Vanguard for the next coming years, even though without Cardfight Online. If that didn't happen, if that local game store didn't open up, and I was basically locked to only playing against my friend, I wouldn't be sitting here making content. Because there were moments that one of us weren't really into the game, and if we were the only ones to play against each other, we both probably have dropped the game long before that. And the problem is, I know that this is a reality for multiple people, and for some people, they cannot even make the first step to begin with. And then this Tuesday, I saw the announcement for Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. I'm not a big fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! I do follow the card game, and I have played it like when I was 8 years old, back 9 years old when Yu-Gi-Oh! Just came out. But I wasn't all too much fan about the whole system that it is right now. Yet when I saw Master Duel, I am 99.99% certain if that game comes out in the next year or so, I'm gonna play it. I don't care if I need to spend money for it. I'm gonna play it because it allows me to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Much more easier. I don't have to collect all these cards physically and go to a local shop and go through all these hoops to actually play the game. I can just sit behind my computer and experience Yu-Gi-Oh! For what it is. And because it's so accessible, I am that much more willing to make that step to actually play Konami's game. How many people are on that same point for Vanguard, but they don't want to make that first step because they need to do extra things to make it actually happen? If Cardfight Online suddenly is announced tomorrow, I am 100% sure there are people that then will have the same decision as I had for Master Duel. So, please. It doesn't have to be that they announce this in 6 months, but right now, with Overdress just beginning, this is the perfect time to actually make an online simulator. Just make it for Overdress and then decide later down the line to also include V Premium and Premium. Because you don't have to do everything immediately, but having it for the main format, your Overdress format, as a starting point, can help so much.